Hi everybody. For sure there are very many reasons why Chinese economy is going so incredible well. What I would like to do now is to share with you my understanding about one or two or three of the reasons I see which are responsible for the present success. I remember, I think it's 25 years back, 25 years back, maybe 20 years, I'm really not sure. I read an article in the FAZ, Frankfurter Allgemeine, the German newspaper, about how the Chinese government has set up free market testing models in different provinces. What you call special economical zone. One of them has been, for example, established in Shenzhen area. What I learned from this article is that the Chinese government has considered different frame conditions in each of those economical zones. Means different impact, different frame conditions, sometimes more free market system, sometimes more restricted, with more government influence or impact, or less local government impact influence. So under these so-called frame conditions, in each economical zone, companies were able to develop or not. And the Chinese government very carefully observed the outcome of these studies, which type of frame conditions on infrastructure or on government impact provoked which type of outcome. And the Chinese government, it seems like they compared and studied the different frame conditions of free market system very, very carefully, with the final result that those special economic zones, which were established something like 25 years back, slowly spread all over the country and were part of the reason why whole China transformed in such a short period of time. Yeah, it was like, I don't know how you call it in German, there's like, you work in the laboratory with bacteria, and this is you call it like a petri dish, and you compare how a population of bacteria develop. And for me, this comparison to what the Chinese government did in comparing the outcome of free market models in special economical zones has no difference to this petri dish. And yeah, I found this quite fascinating to read this article, and it made me changing my view and observing like how would be the further development in China. Okay, this is one topic. Another topic, which, I mean, what I wanted to say, or what I wanted to share, is what are factors for this economical success China developed during the last 2 or 3 decades. This is one of them. Starting to learn about the best free market system, under what frame conditions it should be applied to serve the whole country. Another factor which I think is also a very powerful reason for the present success is when you want to register a new company, you need to apply, and you need to fill out the forms, and you need to meet all the standards, and once the government approves your registration, you can start your company. The time frame is limited for 2 years, and after 2 years you need to go back to the government office to renew your existing registration. This is what I understand from the whole procedure. So in case the government has no other plans with the area where you're located, the government will approve your renewal or your extension of your business registration every 2 years. But once the government has different plans, they simply will not approve, but offer you an alternative solution where to settle with your company, mostly further out of the city or in a location which has been already prepared for such a shift. Anyway, with this registration procedure, it is obviously extremely efficient how you can direct a city planning, a province planning, and also, I mean, I have not seen anything similar like this existing in any of the Western countries which have this highly powerful impact on how the country can be directed. I mean, how the development of city planning or province planning can be directed, just because of the fact that a person who registered a company has to re-register every 2 years, or have to not re-register, but has to update or get a reapproval after 2 years. And in this way, all the power is in the government. Okay, this was the second point. The third point where I see the Chinese government was extremely wise to ensure development for the country was, by the way, they invited foreign companies to come to China, especially car makers, especially the German car makers. When I look back, 1985, I was so surprised because suddenly I saw a lot of red taxis which came from Volkswagen, and it was the Santana model. I do not know the Chinese name, but this model was very common and familiar with me, based on the fact that I had seen it in Germany for quite a long time. So what I know is that the Chinese, that car companies only had a chance to step into Chinese market and to get a piece of the cake to distribute their cars by providing 51% of the company shares to the Chinese government or to a so-called government-owned company, I don't know, government company. In this way, it was ensured that there is a technology transfer, especially if the right people with greatest understanding are positioned in the right places. Yeah, I think this was number 3. Number 4, which I also find extremely impressive, is I kept on watching Chinese TV, CCTV 9. Also, I mean, that's what means also. Actually, that's the only one I watched because that's the one I understood because of English. And I was surprised to see, like 25 years back or 20 years back, they showed a lot of documentations of people who lost their job but somehow managed to find their own independent income, who became self-employed. So it was a kind of documentation where people were presented who successfully managed to run their own company, very, very often on a very small scale, but always with a message. The message that people were supposed to get encouraged to leave. No, not to. People should receive the message that they should take self-responsibility. They should actually, I do not know the real frame conditions. Maybe part of the reason was at that time also a lot of big government companies simply closed down, not being competitive enough anymore, and a lot of people were unemployed, and also just to avoid social unrest, part of the Chinese government propaganda. I don't know. I remember I talked to one of my suppliers, and his comment was quite disapproving. He said it's brainwashing. Yeah, it's brainwashing, but at the same time, it's about encouraging people trying to take responsibility for their own life. It sounds maybe a bit, I don't know, too big or too, but to trying to brainwash the population with this type of documentations for sure had impact and helped in this process of transformation. Yeah, the next point which I feel which is part of the reason for China being successful the way they are I mean the way the economic grows is when you in each county there are people producing certain type of stuff, and they are all obliged to attend the fairs. They're pushed to attend the fairs. They get like incentives to join the fair, and when they can manage to export something, they get extra incentives. And the government with the way they installed this whole concept, they tried to encourage and to promote people to develop from where they came from. So a lot of agriculture products, a lot of, I mean, I go regularly to the, or I used to go very regular to the Canton Fair and to the Jinhan Fair, and talking to the different suppliers on the Jinhan Fair, you realize, especially the basket suppliers, what is the background and how does this whole concept work. So the strong point for the government is they support and they back up, but at the same time, by the amount of incentive they pay, they also direct and they orchestrate the whole scenario. 15 years back, 20 years back, people who were producing cast iron products or aluminum products or glass, mouth-blown glass products, they were promoted. They received government incentives. All this changed. All the industries which are polluting, such as cast iron production or glass production or aluminum production, they do not receive any more incentives, and only the fittest ones can manage to survive. All the others decline or have to give up. So the government also has made a very, very wise, orchestrated, has made a decision where they were able to influence the outcome for the good of the country, for lifting the living standard of the people living in China. Yeah. This is what I learned in these many years, and which I find quite fascinating. And this is why I think Western democracies will not be able to offer something which is able to lift the living standard of people. You know, you go to US, you're just shocked by the overwhelming number of people who are living on the street. You look at the gap between rich and poor people and the elimination of middle class in the last, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years. It's so obvious. So comparing the different models, I do not see that, I mean, democracy is not what, in most Western countries, democracy is not as good as it seems from outside to some people, because the people who represent, you know, the parliament members who represent the people are, in all of these countries, strongly influenced by lobbyists. So I mean, yeah, you can go on with different other type of problems, whereas you talk about freedom of speech, you talk about YouTube, and so many channels just simply deleted because they do not match into the narrative. Yeah, people, once they have 100,000 followers or subscribers, you say, and it's political and it's opposing and it's opening people's eyes, it's always it always would get a chop called this is a conspiracy theory, and they delete the channel. So yeah, I don't know, different countries, different system, different advantages, different disadvantages. I just wanted to share. Okay.